Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to My T Sharp, the Black Awareness Rally podcast, affectionately taken from the movie Coming to America. As I always say, you could be rocking with anybody else in the world right now, but you are here with us. For that, we do appreciate you. It's your man Pledge, alongside my main man B.
What up, y'all?
And we welcome all of you guys to the conversation. So, what's going on with you, B? How things going for you, bro?
Good, pretty good. Just a lot of studying. Started shopping again.
Okay.
Trying to get fly for July. I feel like they might let us out.
BB shop.
Right.
BB shop.
Right, BB shop.
BB shop.
Shout out to Dave Chappelle on that for the joke on Nutty Professor. So we get that from
Nutty Professor, yeah.
Yeah.
When Eddie Murphy famously roasted him. No,
Reggie?
wait. Dave got him the first time, right? And then Eddie came back and got him.
Right. Eddie was pissed.
Yeah,
Eddie was pissed. So Reggie with the messed up teeth, but
Reggie. It wasn't Reggie Love. What was his name? Because it was Buddy Love.
Oh yeah.
It was Buddy Love, and then I forget Reggie. I forgot what's his name was.
Did he even have a second name?
I don't know, man. But Eddie Murphy got him though.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy got him.
How you been, man?
Yeah. Been all right, man. Been all right. It was a long week with dealing with a lot of things with work or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, man. All is well, man. I still extremely blessed and fortunate, despite everything that goes on. So
right,
that's the mantra. That's the mantra.
No complaints, B. No complaints.
For sure. Hey, man, and before we get into it, man, I do want to shout out and say Happy Father's Day to everybody out there.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're a father yourself or whether you're celebrating the day with you and yours. However, we do want to take this time to celebrate Happy Father's Day to everybody, and definitely give a shout out to Papa Pledge. Say what's up to him for everything that he did and continues to do for me. So shout out to him.
OG, triple OG. Yeah, Happy Father's Day to Happy Father's Day to all the fathers.
Yes.
Let's not pretend that they don't do their part. So we certainly appreciate them.
We got more on that coming up. So that's just a little teaser that we do have more information on that in the different parts of the podcast. So.
Okay. Well, let you run that.
No, I mean it's what we do. I mean it's the Black Awareness pageant. So
yeah,
that's what we do.
That is
what we do, man.
Pretty much all we do here. Just always standing in the rain, head on, fighting it. So, yeah. I know we got a show about that on, I think it was like episode 3 or 4. We was discussing that. I had to go back and look at that. I had to make that a little commercial segment for the day when we finish.
Yes.
Anyway, all right. Let's do the rally.
Yes. As I said, to kind of kick it off with the Father's Day theme, for my community moment, I want to give a shout out to it's a group called the Dad Gang, and they actually started on Instagram. It's the Instagram group that started. I think it has over 86,000 members right now, or at the time that the article was published. But basically, it's a group of Black fathers that are kind of coming together in community in support of one another, to provide each other resources, and also to kind of provide images of Black fathers that are doing their things to hold the household down. And just so you know, I mean, data from the National Center of Human Statistics shows that a majority of Black fathers are, in fact, in their children's lives.
Get them.
And then also the studies show that Black fathers are more likely to feed, bathe, diaper, dress, and play with their children on a daily basis
Get them.
than their white and Hispanic counterparts.
Get them.
So the group's founder, Mr. Williams, his aim is to debunk the misconception of Black fatherhood by creating a initiative called the Dad Gang. And and so, kind of in light of everything that's been going on and how brothers have been painted, and also in celebration of Father's Day, we kind of want to bring that attention of a group of Black men that are coming together to work together to make this thing called fatherhood go a little bit smoother. As I know, being a father of two, the more resources and the more support you have, the easier it is to get things going. But I do want to give a shout out to them brothers for working together and making that happen. So
get them. That's right, Costello. We be sharing unearthed stats out here. You know what I mean? That's what we do on the show. That's what's up, man. We ain't have to revisit.
That's my community moment.
Look, man, that was over a year ago. Brother still putting in the work. Stats don't change. That's because we're consistent. That's what's up, bro. That was your community moment?
That was my community moment.
All right, let's run the community moment then. I'm gonna go with Black bookstore owner. The bookstore's name is Pyramid Books. They're located in Boynton Beach, Florida. And the community has been supporting this bookstore so much so that they've been running out of African American books. The owner's name is Akbar Watson, and the store has been open and operating for 30 years. And he said it's the first time he couldn't keep enough African American literature on the shelves. So big up to the community of Boynton Beach. It'd be Palm Beach, maybe even Broward County, for going in and supporting this guy. My bad, y'all. I turned the mic down. Let me start that over. Yeah, my bad. Thanks, Q. Yeah, shout out to Akbar Watson, the owner of Pyramid Books of Boynton Beach, Florida, and the community of Boynton Beach, Florida, and Palm Beach, which would be the county that it resides in, for supporting Pyramid Books. The owner says that they have been selling out of African American literature, and this is the first time that has been a problem, which is a good problem for him in the 30 years since he's been open. So shout out to the community for helping that brother. Shout out to that brother for giving the community information on how they can be a part of the movement and learn more about it to be aware for the future. So that's my community moment for the day. Oh man, we forgot to shout out the sponsors. Pledge. Dang it. Hey, shout out to McDowell's. You know what I mean? McDonald's got the Golden Arches, but we got the Golden Arcs. Shout out to Sexual Chocolate and that brother Randy Watson for constantly coming through, being on the show, providing us with the art segment. So, you know what I mean? Y'all see it. The Hugh Hefner on high.
Can't forget about him.
Yeah, he gonna bring y'all the Miss Black Awareness Pageant contestant segment. Man can take the picture, put it on Instagram, put it on Facebook. OnlyFans. That's not good. But only God can make the picture.
I hear you.
But yeah, shout out to the Hugh Hefner on high as well. Let's do it. Let's do Miss Black Awareness Rally Pageant.
Okay, I'll go ahead and kick it off, man. My Miss Black Awareness pageant honoree this week is going to be Miss Kiko Davis. She is the first Black woman to own a bank, which is major. She owns the Detroit-based First Independence Bank. And just so you know how major this is, a lot of conversations have been brought up in the conversation of the systemic racism. And banks played a large part in that, whether it be redlining,
right,
and making it more difficult for Black people to get loans, or whether it be giving Black people money to start their own business.
Right.
And we all know that home ownership and business ownership are two strong pillars in building wealth. So the fact that, we have, for the first time ever, a Black woman that owns a bank, which means that we will be, which brings a little equity to the table. So I think that's a huge thing. So I want to give a shout out to Miss Kiko Davis for reaching that feat of being the first Black woman owner of a bank. And as I said, this is only going to help, build those pillars to building wealth in this nation. So shout out to her and in her bank in Detroit. So
Pew, pew,
that
pew,
is my
pew.
that's my Black awareness. That's my Miss Black awareness pageant moment of the week.
Lighter. Big up. That's actually pretty huge. We need more like her. We need more of us to get out there and bank black, because we have this push to be business owners, and that's a wonderful idea. But there's still no getting around the fact that even as a business owners, you're getting loans that are not advantageous. You're still having to deal with redlining. You're still having to deal with eminent domain, even as a business owner. And banks are an integral part of that system of ownership. And it will be a great idea to bank black. So we appreciate that sister for stepping up and joining the front lines. Go ahead.
Just to add something to that. Nowadays with online banking, you don't even have to be in the same vicinity as the bank that you use. You can set up accounts remotely,
right?
And set up your direct deposit, and they will send you the information in the mail. So you don't have to be in Detroit to be. I'm not sure if you have to be in the same state. I don't know the laws around that, but I know that you don't have to be physically in the same location as the bank that you use. So
okay.
So that is one way that people can support banks, even though there may not be any in their particular area, Black banks. So.
Right. Hey man, let's get out here and make some moves. My Miss Black Awareness Rally contestant this week is Stephanie Hart out of Chicago. Stephanie Hart is the founder and the owner of a Black-owned bakery in Chicago, and it just purchased another business that was actually, I guess you can call it a competitor. She owns a brown sugar bakery in Chicago. They have 3 locations, and she just purchased Cupid Candies. They had a factory that she was able to purchase and continue to operate. Not only did she buy the factory, but she kept the employees on, and she kept the operations going for Cupid Candies, and she's even running her operations out of the factory. Apparently, Brown Sugar Bakery has 3 locations in Chicago, and we want to shout out to that sister. That's another example of us not being violent people, not being evil people. We just consumed another company, and instead of just dissolving it and kicking the people out and letting them be unemployed and stopping the production of the previous company, she's deciding to be benevolent, and let them continue to run. So, hey, we big hearts out here, man. Big hearts. So if you're in Chicago, check them out. I wish I would have knew back in February. I definitely would have got me some desserts from the Brown Sugar Bakery. All right. Sexual Chocolate segment. It's our art segment. It's definitely brought to you by Randy Watson and the Sexual Chocolate Experience. What you got?
For the entertainment section, I am going to shout out Netflix for their $120 million donation to HBCUs.
Mm-hmm.
It was a $40 million donation to Morehouse, $40 million donation to Spelman, and then a $40 million donation to the I believe to what's the organization? United Negro College Fund.
Okay.
I believe that's the organization they made it to. But shout outs to them for stepping up and leading the charge. In the address, the CEO said, an investment in education is, going to yield, the quality that they're looking to achieve. So shout out to that organization for stepping up and leading the charge and putting dollars back where they're critically needed. Also in the article, they were saying how, the funding for HBCUs, how it's a bit of a challenge for them to, one, get people to invest so their endowments are not as large as PWIs.
Right.
And then 2 is that HBCUs, they don't try to have like exorbitant fees like parking fees
Right.
and things like that, bookstore fees and things like that to really knock the head, knock their students over the head with money. So they're not as much of a profit driven organization like PWIs. So that's one reason why their students, that's one reason why they're not as profitable as other institutions. And also, just because students aren't spending that much money on the institution, the students still come out with the same amount of student loan debt, unfortunately, from Black, colleges and universities. So shout out to Netflix for helping to alleviate that problem of funding and getting kids in the door. So big ups to them. That's my entertainment moment of the week.
And you just said something that brought something else to light. So you just talked about some of the challenges that Black college graduates will have after school. Well, I guess that's redundant. Black college graduates will have. Hey, I don't know if y'all know, but even if we graduate from HBCUs or just blacks in general and have the exact same education as our white counterparts, we're going to still face unfair lending practices from banks. So that's the reason we should bank black, so that we don't have to be in the way of those unfair lending practices. All right. Shout out to Netflix for also dropping a mini documentary on YouTube that talks about the redlining practices, the unfair lending practices, and the income and wealth inequality between blacks and white Americans. Y'all should check that out. I need to put that in the show notes. Yeah, we got to start doing show notes, pledge. All right. Let's get to it. My nominee for the art segment will be a group by the name of SALT. Not SALT, but SAULT, as in assault. And it is a collective. It is Adrian Young, or I guess Yuji, depending on how you want to pronounce it. That's YOUNGE. He's a producer. You might be familiar with some of his work from the Luke Cage television show. He produced that entire show, all the music from that. And a young lady named by the kid's sister. She's a singer, very, very nice vocalist. They just dropped their third project in the middle of the night, night before last, and it is black as hell. The album is named Untitled, aka Black Is, and I just been vibing out to that pretty heavy. If you've seen my IG for the last 24 hours, that second video I posted is a song of theirs. It is not yet on Instagram, but check them out. Very, very nice album. I know we had some other prominent figures and celebrities in the hood drop some stuff this week, but I want to give a shout out to SALT. Some lesser known acts that are just as revered in the hood and in the industry for putting out a project that I thought was a very enjoyable listen from start to finish. All right, let's do the dance. Let's do the man. Pledge, I ain't even make the whatchamacallits. Dang. I ain't make the whatchamacallits. We just got to
whatchamacallits.
Yes, in a minute. I forgot to make. Yeah, I forgot to make the topics.
Oh.
But let's get into it. Topic number one, guys, is the issue of Kyrie Irving, the NBA Players Association. What you doing, man? Why you shaking your head? I'm not saying something right.
I already know where you're going with this, man. I already already got a feeling when you sent me a text about this earlier in the week.
What?
And so I don't know, man. I just
let me get it out.
Go ahead and say it.
Thank you. Let me intro for the people that ain't in our text message convos. The NBA is in talks with the NBA Players Association, which is like their union for the players in the NBA. They're having discussions about how to resume the NBA season in July, and a faction of the NBA Players Association was considering sitting out because they didn't want to be what they call the distraction to the movement and the momentum that's happening outside in the streets with the protests and all the social injustices. And so Kyrie Irving and Avery Bradley are getting credited with being the masterminds between what is being called now an attempt to sit out for the rest of the season or protest or even entertain the idea of starting a new NBA, which would be black owned and what have you. And so there's been a lot of back and forth about that because that's a real salacious thing to say. That's a lightning rod of a conversation to have. And the media has been eating it up. And in the wake of that, some people, some pundits, Stephen A. Smith, Kendrick Perkins, like all of the talking heads have been on TV discussing why they think that's a good idea and why they think that's a bad idea. And so in the wake of that, we've seen this schism appear between black men in the media about the topic. Players react. Go ahead and shoot them off.
All right. First of all, you have to, when any message is dispersed, you have to take into account the messenger.
Wait, time out. Hold on.
You have to take into account the messenger, the person that's delivering the message.
Hold on. One more thing. I'm sorry. I forgot to add this one extra fact. The NBA Players Association had an official stance saying that they would resume play, and LeBron James has an organization that he's been supporting that is tasked with getting people out to the polls, protecting the integrity of the voting process, and what have you. And he's been trying to promote that in addition to, being vocal on the front lines and visible in the protests. And so the media kind of put ESPN primarily kind of pitted the players that want to continue to play because they think that the money will help the movement against the group of players that say they don't want to play because they feel like they'll be selling out the movement. So, all right, players, you can go ahead and sell Kyrie out.
All right. As I said, anytime a message is dispersed, you kind of take in credence of the person who's delivering the message. And this message happens to come from Kyrie Irving.
What does that mean? Why is that a...
Well, one, Kyrie Irving wasn't going to play anyways. So once the season comes back, Kyrie Irving's not playing, Kevin Durant's not playing. So okay. It's hard for you to say, oh yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, it's easy for you to say, oh, y'all don't need to play, because guess what? He wasn't going to play anyways. So he wouldn't be missing anything. I mean, that's what I'm saying. But I'm pretty sure people are Googling who Avery Bradley is right now because nobody knows who he is in the first place.
That's racist. That's racist.
That's not racist, dog. I'm saying that's people who know basketball. But as I said, Kyrie Irving, when has he ever been a leader or a good teammate ever to say anything and people listen to what he has to say? So that's what I'm saying. Take in credence the person who said it, Kyrie Irving, who's never been a good teammate, who's never been a leader in the NBA, and who wasn't going to play anyways. So as I said, he was like, I don't have a chance to get a chip this year. I don't think anybody should have a chance to get a chip this year. That's basically what Kyrie Irving is saying.
Again, what about Avery Bradley, who has a real chance, who's an integral piece to the Lakers organization?
Avery Bradley came with a different tone. Avery Bradley is saying that we have leverage at this time, so let's ask for things that to be met before we play. So Avery Bradley is not saying, oh, we should sit this out and not play at all. Avery Bradley is saying, let's leverage this moment that we have right now and have demands that we ask from the NBA. And once our demands are met, then we can move forward with the season. That's a leverage play. It's different from saying, oh, no, y'all just sit this out. That's totally different. So I actually give more credence to what Avery Bradley said than what Kyrie Irving said. And another thing is this, though. You have to consider this is the NBA. First of all, the NBA is the blackest league out of all of them. It is 80% black.
Okay.
And then two, the NBA, when it comes to allowing their players to make personal stances and allowing their players to, the flexibility and the freedom to express themselves, the NBA is at the top of that list.
Okay.
So it's not like the NBA is going to let the players come back and silence them and say, no, you can't kneel, no, you can't wear this shirt. We've seen that the NBA players have more power over their league than any other league in America right now. So that's one thing too, is that the NBA can come back and make a strong statement every night on TV for people to see, and to kind of reinforce their point, reinforce the movement's point of what we're trying to accomplish. The NBA will be an integral part of that.
So let
And
me ask
then
you. Go ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
You saying the NBA? This what I hear. You know what I mean? I got to be that dude for those of us that's watching, because there's this other side of that. The NBA been a good master to the slaves,
What?
right? No, I'm just
No.
I'm that was advocate. That was advocate.
Come on, man.
So the NBA been a good master. In their bylaws, you're not allowed to kneel. So that's every player must stand and be present and accounted for the national anthem. So there's that issue to figure out. And why can't they just wait until the protests are over before they try to resume the season? Why can't we wait until we get certain things before the season's over? And it's dismissive of the media to try to make the black man that is getting the credit for coming up with this idea look like a crazy person so that people can ignore him. Like, we just praised Dave Chappelle last week for being a genius in this freedom movement and struggle, and he's on record on Oprah, on the Actor Studio, as talking very vehemently about how anytime people was calling him crazy for walking away from the $50 million contract dispute, as a crazy person that was drug addicted, that was losing his mind. And he was like, hey, that's very dismissive of y'all to say somebody crazy anytime they say something that go against status quo. So we just gonna call Kyrie crazy for having an idea that he wasn't the first to have?
I never said Kyrie was crazy. I just gave his stated record when it comes to his standing in the league. I mean, this is a dude that couldn't play with LeBron James. I mean,
admit a few people can play with LeBron.
I'm saying, I mean, but
what?
But no, go ahead.
No, I'm saying, like, so we got examples of people calling the man crazy, right? So Kendrick Perkins is on record as saying, if you took Kyrie Irving's brain out of his head and put it in a bird's head, the bird would start flying backwards. That's how crazy Kyrie Irving sounds. That's dismissive, dog.
I'm saying, but that's somebody who's played with Kyrie Irving though, so he knows what it's like to deal with him on a day-to-day basis.
When he played with Kyrie Irving?
With the Cavaliers, Perk was on that team.
When they won the 2016 joint?
I think no. I know Perk was on the first Cavaliers team. I'm not sure if he was on the team when but no. Perk was on the team with the Cavaliers. He didn't play because I remember there was somebody got into a scuffle, and then Perk was on the bench, and Perk was the one who stood up for the person that got into a scuffle. Perk didn't play in the finals that Kyrie won with them, but Perk was on that team though, because LeBron James knows what a good teammate Perk is, so he brought him back on so he can win another championship with him. So
he's trying to say the movement. So this what I'm talking about. This whole thing looks like the white man trying to shut the movement down by using black people to get the message out. To shut the movement down, to call Kyrie stupid, call him a bad teammate, say all these bad things about a black dude that's trying to start another league that we own. Why we just can't say Kyrie got a good idea and just do it?
Because, like Kendra pointed out, Kyrie didn't have this idea until he found out that he wasn't going to be able to go. Like, that's when Kyrie came up with this, because Kyrie was part of the conversations with the Players Association, and Kyrie was all on board to play. And then he found out since he's injured, he cannot travel with the team and be a part of it. And once he found out that he cannot be a part of the NBA returning to Orlando, that's when he was like, "Oh, we should sit out." And then he came up with "Oh, well, it's for the movement," as if NBA players on the front lines of the movement in the NBA season will take them off of the front lines and distract them from what they're doing.
But does that take away from the tenacity of his idea? That don't make his idea bad.
if he would have came up with the idea before he found out he wasn't going, it would
That
have more
still don't make it a
credence.
bad idea. Just because the timing was wrong, why it ain't a good idea for him just to sit out?
First of all, here's this is not something that just pertains to the NBA, but this is something that pertains to all people who are trying to achieve something.
Right.
If like these situations that have happened in the past have been that have happened in the past couple of months or whatever, is situations to where Black people have been victims of horrific crimes. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
You do not let those people shut down what you want to do. You do not let those people shut down what you want to happen.
Okay.
The NBA is 80% Black, so you do not let that shut down 80% of Black players getting their money. You do not let that shut down Black people who are consumers of the NBA to be prevented from seeing of enjoying the NBA. So you don't let hatred and racism, bigotry keep you. You don't let stuff like that shut you down, because guess what? The people who do those horrific acts, they're like, dang, I got them to shut down the NBA over what I did. No, you don't. No, we've always been people that have overcome. We've always been resilient. We've always been able to press forward. And us being able to continue the NBA season, and no matter what form it is a signal of us being pressing forward and being resilient and not letting anybody, keep us from what we set out to do.
Okay.
Like Goody Mob famously said, "One monkey don't stop no show." So let's keep it going.
Dang, you just called Kyrie a monkey?
I did not call Kyrie a monkey.
You just likened him to a monkey.
The people who did those acts, those are the monkeys. They don't stop a show. That's what I'm saying.
He just called Kyrie Irving a monkey, yeah.
That's what the media do. That's what the media do. That's what the media do.
Okay. Well, y'all play the show back 26 seconds to see what happened. But let me say this. Then let me say this. I'm gonna read to you what the good Jeannie Buss, who's a good slave master.
Oh Jesus!
I'm just, you know what I mean, devil's advocate right now. Jeannie Buss, who's, if you guys aren't familiar, she's the current was it the president, and like
she's the owner of the Lakers.
Yeah, I know she's like partial owner, but she run the day to day though.
Well, her family runs the Lakers. She just has a different. She has
like more power,
like marketing and business, something like that.
Yeah. So for intents purposes, she's one of the ownership. She's one of the members of the family that owns the Los Angeles Lakers basketball team. She received a letter this week and decided to post it online from her personal Instagram account. It reads, "Dear whore, after 60 years as a huge Lakers fan, I now say to hell with those overpaid niggers, traders, to those overpaid nigger traders and the NBA. Go to hell and join effing Kobe Bryant." Signed Joe something or other. She blurred his name out. So, to Kyrie Irving's point again, systemic racism is so ingrained in the people's minds of America that they feel like they deserve to be entertained by the Black players getting out there and entertaining them in the midst of this movement. Kyrie saying, we need to deal with that issue and have y'all sit out the season, or we're going to start our own league. This ain't the first time that happened, bro. 1998, during the shortened lockout season, NBA players were struggling for money, and they was like, we just need to start our own league. We ain't calling nobody crazy back then. We ain't say the people that was playing at the time was bad teammates, or they were just doing it because they wouldn't go be able to play no way. They just throwing a tantrum. Why are we saying about Kyrie? Because the white man, which is represented by this writer in this article, he's upset that the Black people had the nerve, the tenacity, the unmitigated gall to throw shots at you know who, to talk about sitting out to do something that gives them more autonomy.
First of all, it's a false correlation, because what this dude who sent the letter didn't have any correlation to what Kyrie was saying at all.
It's did.
So, I mean, no. You're trying to bring these two together when they're not correlated at all. He did not reference what Kyrie said at all. He did not reference anybody sitting out. He did not reference that at all. I say you're just trying to bundle.
He said the N-word traders. What is he referring to? He's referring to the players getting out here and trying to be active in the demonstrations and fighting against the injustices. These guys want to be a part of the right side of history. And this white dude is saying, well, F them N words for wanting to stand up to us. We own them. We pay their salaries, which they kind of don't.
You
But
added a lot of words to what he said. I mean, I said I'm not
come
trying
on,
to defend
bro.
this
He
dude. Not in the
called them
least bit.
traitors, dog.
I'm not. I'm saying
If
I'm
they're
not trying
trading,
to
what are they
defend
trading against? How? What does he
I'm
mean
not
by
trying to
traitors?
defend this
Then
dude in the
let's
least
fill it
bit.
out. What's a
But
traitor?
I think you're reaching to kind of
What does
add
he
credence to
mean by
what Kyrie.
traitor?
I don't know. That's a term that they like to throw around. So
But
I mean,
come on now, let's not be scared. He's
I'm
saying
not scared, but
that they're traitors because they don't want to do what white people think they should do, and that's let white people do what they want or have what they want. This how racism works. Just I like this conversation because it gives us a chance to deal with what is a really popular debate that's going around the world. Is we get a chance to talk about white ideas, white thinking, white perceptions, the normative white gaze, which is the mainstream culture or the dominant culture controlling, whether that be physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, spiritually, the black body. And the body means, again, all those things I just said, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, what have you, anything that's concerning black movement and autonomy. And this is an example of some white person getting pissed because he couldn't get what he wanted because black bodies, aka the NBA players, are trying to say, hey, maybe we should consider sitting out. Like, what's so bad about sitting out? All you gotta do is just wait. The season would have been over today anyway. Why not just wait till next year? What's so bad about that? Why he's so mad?
I'm saying, but the thing is this though. Whenever you face opposition, you don't let opposition keep you from what you want to go out and accomplish. As I said, you don't give in to opposition. You don't say, "Oh well, they did something we don't like, so therefore we're gonna shut our own stuff down." No, you rise above and you continue to go after what you feel is yours, man. As I
So
said, and giving into opposition, like if it was your plan before the season started to go out and win a championship, you're gonna let something when black people have faced racist, bigoted attacks since we've been brought to this country. We now all of a sudden we can't do what we can't fulfill our goals and dreams. Now all of a sudden we're gonna stop. Now all of a sudden we're gonna cave in and be like, all right, well, we'll shut it down. No. Press forward, move on, make it happen. That's what we've always done. That's what we have to continue to do.
Okay, let me flip your argument
because
on
we're not doing this for anybody else. We're doing this for what we wanted to accomplish.
So let me flip
if
your
I'm
argument.
on a team, that's what I wanted to accomplish.
We should be able to do whatever we want to do, right? Right?
Yeah.
And that's in response to the letter that the white dude wrote. We don't know what we want to do. We have it's a popular, it's trending because of who said it, right? But this ain't a new concept. Like, you remember the book $40 Million Slaves? That book was wildly salacious because of the title, because it was talking about professional athletes being considered slaves. But now we got a player actually saying we should start our own junk or just sit out. And now people mad. So the NBA players, I think what everybody's saying, just for the record, for those of us that hadn't had a chance to talk to me about this personally, I think both issues are correct. I think both of them are right. I think both of them have great ideas for what to do on either side. So I think Kyrie Irving's idea, the spirit is awesome. I think it's a cool idea to want to have complete control of something that you're involved with. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think LeBron, not that LeBron's come out and said anything, but I think that the other side of the fence is also right in thinking that, well, we could use that money to donate back to the different organizations inside of the movement, and that there are players that don't have the money that Kyrie and LeBron or Avery Bradley have, and they need that for their families. But why we can't get out here and do it? Why we can't figure out what we want to do?
I'm saying we could do both at the
what's
same
a happy
time.
medium ground?
We can run it. The league that's running right now, can run, and then in the background, since Kyrie Irving won't be playing at all, he can start.
Avery Bradley gonna be playing. Avery Bradley want to sit out too, and Lou Williams just jumped up and said, "Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
I don't feel like this might be a good idea either." Lou Williams starting to have second thoughts. Now we can't say Lou Williams. We can't say nothing bad about Lou Williams.
No, we can't say anything bad about Lou Williams. But what I'm trying to say is that, first of all, individually, if you don't want to show up, don't show up. I mean, seriously. The league's going to go on. So if you don't want to show up, but don't keep everybody from playing, don't say all y'all shouldn't play. Say,
why?
No, the people that don't want to play. Like Dwight Howard came out and said he doesn't know if he wants to play or whatever. Dwight Howard, if you don't want to play, don't play. But what I'm trying to say is this, though, is that we can start a plan to start our own league. But that doesn't mean we have to shut down what's working for us right now. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. So two things can be done at the same time. You don't have to shut something down completely and then work on a league that's not going to start for another 3 to 5 years, I guarantee. So you're going to shut things down for 3 to 5 years while you build a new league? No, this league is working right now. Where did Michael Jordan get the money to donate $100 million towards causes for the black to work on equality for blacks? Where did he get that money from? He got that money from playing basketball and Jordan. And the only reason the Jordan brand exists is because he played basketball in the NBA. That's where he got the money from. Michael,
what's so wrong
the same
with
league that made him an owner? The same league. What other two leagues had two black owners than the NBA?
Listen, bro.
Two black owners. No other league.
Just because it's a good master don't mean it still ain't a master.
We got to cut that crap out of equating everything to slavery, dude. We really do. As I said, and I know you're saying it half jokingly, but
I'm addressing both sides. My official stance is I'm not doing shit that ain't got no plan to it. I ain't doing shit that don't save as many black people as possible.
It's a basketball league. The NBA is not responsible for saving anything. The NBA is responsible for entertaining people and then giving young black men resources and a platform. Those are the three things that the NBA is responsible for: entertaining the masses, making young black men millionaires, and then giving those millionaires a platform so they can go out in the world and do whatever it is they want to do. And they're doing a great job at that. So you're going to get mad at the NBA, who's probably, like Stephen A. says, has probably made more young black men millionaires than anything else. We gonna mess that up when these black men have shown that if they give the resources, that they can own their own team, that they can go back and invest in their own communities. Look at everything Magic Johnson has done in his community. Starbucks.
Here's the problem with that argument, man. That's a separate argument that I think this is a part of. This argument is a part of this issue. We can't keep getting excited because somebody gave us a job. Like, look at Reaganomics. Reaganomics made more black millionaires than any other era in history. Well, not any other, but Reconstruction did it too. But in recent history, in the last 50 years, Reaganomics was an awesome policy for black millionaires. It made way more black millionaires in the 80s. But look at how many people suffered for that to happen. So again,
who's suffering off the NBA?
To Kyrie's point, and Avery Bradley and Lou Williams and Dwight Howard, because you can't dismiss all of them as crazy.
The only one that has sense in that is Avery Bradley. That's the only one, and he happens to be the worst player out of all of them. I mean, I said I'm not somebody to tear somebody down, but Lou Williams does have some sketchy things in his past or whatever. But I mean, I'm not gonna go the Ken Corner route. So, but don't worry about it, man. But go ahead though.
See, this my problem with the conversation, because this is just raising so many issues for me personally. I can't believe, I think this is an in-house conversation. I think only black people should be listening to this conversation. I do not think that white people should be privy to this conversation. I do not think that we should be talking about this on Sports Center. But I know that serves to reach more people. But I wish there was a space that was only us, that we could have this conversation, because this is a situation that is born out of us not having a common ideological viewpoint on the world or the movement. And we have these schisms because people don't know what to do in reaction to the situation, which, again, I think both ideas are awesome. I think everybody has a good idea, but to dismiss Kyrie's plan because it doesn't fit the narrative that, the NBA has been paying us so well for so long, I think that's bad because then that means anybody could just come along and put a check in our hand and we just gonna be like, oh, they paying us. Like, fuck Tyler
I'm
Perry.
saying,
Tyler Perry hired black people and black actors and all that, but he make us look so bad in his movies.
but like Chris Rock said, you're only as faithful as your options. What other options? I'm saying, what other options do we have to basketball wise? What other options do we have?
The big three.
The big three, yes, the big three is good, but guess where the big three gets all of their players from? The NBA. So that's why the big three is popular.
The big three doesn't have to get their players from the NBA if the players just went straight to the big three.
I'm saying that's where they get them from. They get
if they just went straight to the big three, they wouldn't have to.
They build off of the platform and the popularity that these players build in the NBA. So once again, the big three is benefiting from the NBA.
So now we don't need.
And guess what arenas they use? They use NBA arenas when the big three comes to town.
Bro.
So once again, the big three is not its own independent league. They are an offshoot of the NBA.
They ain't related, bro.
What are you talking about? They ain't related. They get their players.
No, it's not. They're not on the contract. They're not on the contract, so it's nobody's players.
First of all, the players that are in the big three, I would probably say 80 to 90% of them played in the NBA.
But the NBA does not own them.
I'm saying the 10 to 20% that did not play in the NBA, they were trying to play in the NBA. I guarantee you that, but they just couldn't cut it. So they played overseas somewhere.
What's so wrong
they play in NBA arenas.
So
it's not like
this the same argument.
So this black league, they're going to build their own. They're going to go through the process of building their own arenas, in these populated these cities that are already built or whatever. And so what I'm trying to say is that you can have a problem with things or whatever, but don't mess up the things that have been working. The NBA has been working. The NBA is not a enemy of black people. So don't try to tear things down that are working. There are a lot of things that are not working that are enemies to black people, but don't come down and tear the good things down that are working. That's kind of
the sentiment.
The sentiment that I have behind it is that there's a lot of things that you can get mad at. Like a couple of weeks ago when you got mad at Issa Rae for Insecure, there's a lot of artists that you can get mad at, but that's not one you should get mad at. The NBA, that's not the league that you should get mad at. That's all I'm saying.
Somebody in the comments saying we sound like we arguing over white people, the white man's water being colder than the black man's water. I saw a stat. It wasn't even a stat. I just saw a concept that was explained that a lot of black businesses are failing during the Rona stuff because the business owners don't have the capital and the pathway to success and sustaining the business throughout the Rona is much harder for black business owners because they ain't got the money or the capital, and so as a result, they falling off. Now, let me talk about how that relates to this conversation. So, the idea of starting their own league and it not being a sexy idea for us because the NBA exists is because we ain't put the money into it, right? We ain't supported it. So now, what do you say to that? Because it sounds like the same argument we was having last week about HBCUs or PWIs for the star athletes. If you're a star athlete, you just go wherever you can go, and you're gonna bring the crowd with you, which in turn brings the money to the institution that you go to. What you got to say to that? No, if we support it, if we took the talent, which is us, and went somewhere else, everybody would have to follow. What you think?
But what I'm trying to say is that build that up. The same thing I was saying with HBCUs. Build up that program first before there's a migration. You don't migrate to something that's not. You don't migrate from something that's working to something that's unproven. So what I'm trying to say is that if that's going to be the case, build it up, make sure it works. Make sure that it's going to give people the same amount of resources that their current system is giving them. And then there's a migration. But you don't not have a plan and then migrate from something that's working to something that doesn't have a plan. Just for the sake of saying you made progress. That's not progress.
That sound like you're being scared of that.
I'm saying if you're going to move to something, make sure it's a progressive move. Make sure that it's going to be a move that's going to that's trajecting upward, as opposed to saying, oh, we got something of our own, even though it's not something that gives us the same amount of resources that something else gave us. So I mean that's to me, that's the plan. If we're going to plan to start our own league or whatever, build it up, make sure it's working, and then we'll migrate from there. That's the same thing I would say with HBCUs compared to PWIs. Don't just say, oh, with the current state that they're in, with the athletic departments they're in or whatever, don't say, let's go now. No, let's make sure that's built up first. And once we know they're built up, then we'll migrate to.
All right, well, then answer this then. Here another argument, since your argument is about money. Again, I personally agree that a man should be paid what he's worth. These guys have spent their entire lives developing these skills that afforded them the money that the NBA has given them. I completely agree. I had this conversation with somebody right after the show last week, and we kind of came to an impasse because there were some points on both sides to be considered. The person was saying, if they're getting paid X amount of dollars, that means they're worth more. I agree to that, right? So if LeBron's getting $45 million just from his NBA contract, which he did this year, then that means he's probably worth more money than that if he were to go somewhere else, quote unquote, right? So I said to that person, well, LeBron got about 95 mil from endorsements and what have you. I got to fact check myself on that, but he got way more than 45 million, almost twice as much. Yeah, just from endorsements and basketball. And her argument was, well, if we just left and went somewhere else, they would see that we didn't need that much money to function, and it could probably command more, because if the NBA is willing to give you that much money, you probably deserve more somewhere else anyway. So it boiled down to niggas being scared. What's up? Because if you
LeBron has a window to make that kind of money.
Right.
In that window, LeBron maybe have 3 or 4 years left. So in that window of 3 to 4 years, he's supposed to chance it on something that's unproven. No, let him make another $200, $300, $400 million or whatever, and invest that $200, $300, $400 million in his community or whatever, and then all of us eat off of it. As opposed to maybe, because as I said, the big three, they're not in place to pay him that kind of money right now. I'm saying, don't, just because something might be your own, it's still, you have to look at what your purpose or intent of what you're doing something for. If your purpose or intent is to build up your community, you have to go with the option that's going to be best for you to build up your community.
Okay.
Like that and that's my stance of it. So if my purpose is to build up my community or whatever, and I'm leaving money on the table, I'm shortchanging what my purpose is to build up my community, because I'm not taking all the money that I can make to build up my community. Period. Leaving money on the table does not do good for anybody.
So let me ask this then. What you got to say to the concept that Rome wasn't built in a day, and that if we got this situation, what you saying, they should just wait until it get built up. Like, leave now, because it ain't gonna never be a good time to leave, and then just once you get there, focusing on drumming up the income, because it ain't gonna never be a good time to separate from the NBA.
Well, if it's never gonna be a good time, don't do it. I'm saying, what is the NBA? What is the NBA doing to harm people? What is the NBA doing to harm black people?
They owning black people.
They're not owning black people. It's a choice. It's a choice. Black people, they submit themselves to the draft. They're not forced to go to the draft. They say, I want to play in the NBA. They say, I want to play in the NBA. No, the NBA isn't going and taking people in chains and saying, you're going to play in the NBA. No, people say, I want to play in the NBA. I'm going to submit my name to the draft, and I pray to God that it gets called. That's what people are doing in the NBA right now. So the NBA is not owning anybody. Anything you could sign up for and leave at any time, you're not owned by anything. So I said, the NBA is not doing anything. People are signing up for it and saying, please pick me. And once they're picked, the NBA is paying them. So the NBA is not doing anything to harm black people.
That's because the black man don't know his value, and we looking to other people to validate us instead of going to where we know we belong. So again,
saying, but where do we belong though? What's the alternative though? What's the
big three?
The big three?
It's already established.
I'm saying it's 8 teams with 5 people on it. That's
because that's all we got.
It's 400 people in the NBA. It's 400 people in the NBA.
They could go to the big three.
That means it's going to be 360 people without a job. You want 360 black millionaires without a job? No, come on, man. Nah, dude. That
Duh.
don't make no sense. This gotta
Everybody
make sense, dog.
Everybody on the other side saying it don't exist yet because we ain't built it. Players, that's what
We'll
they
build
saying.
it and then we will come. Like the
They,
movie said, build it and they will come. It's not
but
they will come and then we
we
build
can't
it.
call the
That's
people
not how it
crazy
works.
for having the idea.
I'm not calling them crazy. I'm just saying it's not a thought out idea. And I'm saying think the idea out and then we can jump on board with it. But at this present state, we're gonna rock with what's been working.
Bro, the big three can take care of us, dog. If we just get LeBron, Steph Curry, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant to go to the big three, we'll be straight. You don't think Nike would just follow us? Because Nike just want wherever the money at. Nike don't care.
You don't think Nike would follow us? But I'm trying to say is that Nike is going to go where there's viewers, where they're going to have eyes, and where there's going to be, that's what Nike wants more so than anything.
Right.
So Nike is going to go with something that is proven. And as I said, and I'm going to respond to somebody in the comments saying that with me, they would be on the back of the bus. No, with me, we would own our own bus. Period. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I would take my money.
That's what their argument is.
I would take my money from wherever I got it from. We would own our own bus or whatever.
That's
what I'm trying to say is that I'm saying, but there has to be.
Agree with Kyrie?
I'm saying there has to be an alternative. It can't be. Let's stop what we're doing now that's working and work on a plan and come up with something 3 to 5 years down the line. No, we're going to work on this plan, and 3 to 5 years down the line, we're going to have our own league. But for now, we're going to continue to eat off the league that's been paying us this whole time. That's what I would say.
Everybody ask you, when is it a good time to take off? Like, okay,
when something else is built. When something else is built, that's
something else exists, bro.
I'm saying, start that process though. Start that process of building it up.
The big three exists, bro.
The big three it doesn't have the capacity to facilitate the NBA right now. The big three plays 1 day a week. The NBA plays 8. The big three they play, I think they might play 8-game regular season, because you got to understand the big three is meant for guys who are kind of past their prime of playing or whatever. So the big three doesn't have the capacity for an NBA team. They, as I said, the big three don't even have their own arenas. The big three, they play in NBA arenas. When they came to Miami, they played where the Heat played.
So the
NBA, the big three has not been able to operate independent of the NBA yet, because they still need NBA resources.
So I'm gonna ask you now. I'm gonna ask you, how does the big three grow? Because I feel like, this is just me being a rapperizer that you've known since we was 18. If we just jump ship right now, it'll work. The big three will survive. If we just jump ship right now and take off and take all the superstars, the big three will instantly become the new place to be. Instantly. Just instantly.
It's irresponsible. Irresponsible for us to ask that of NBA players. It's irresponsible.
Why is it irresponsible?
It is irresponsible because, as I said, because these are the same people that we're leaning on to use their platform and their resources to help our community out. Therefore, they need to maximize the resources that they're able to make. So that's what I'm saying. It's irresponsible for us to say, hey, take a hit financially, take a hit exposure wise, take a hit when we've seen what people can do, whether it be Michael Jordan, whether it be LeBron James, whether it be Magic Johnson. When we've seen what people can do when they get resources, it's irresponsible for us to take a hit and say, take less resources.
But we see that they invest in the black man is the talent, and the black man is the reason the NBA is on top. So why can't they just fuck it? We got, and then it instantly flip over to the big three.
If there was an equal alternative, that would be a legitimate argument. There's no equal alternative. Anytime you're doing something, it has to be equal alternative. Right now, that's not in place.
Dang. Well, y'all heard players say because the big three ain't as big as the NBA, we can't leave.
No, the big three can't give the players the resources that they need right now. And the big three was not built to be a replacement for the NBA. The big three was built to prolong the careers of former NBA players or people who skills haven't been good enough to play in the big three. They don't even play on a half court. It's not even a half court they play.
Hey, Again, I think Ice
So you
Cube
have to
got the
change the name.
wherewithal to
You have to
change
change the
all
name.
that if LeBron say we bringing everybody over here.
LeBron, I'm saying NBA players have shown the big three love by continuing their careers in the big three. But the big three was not built. I guarantee if you talk to Ice Cube, he was like, no, I'm not trying to replace the NBA. I guarantee you that's what he would say. And
Hey.
Kyrie, it's not like Kyrie Irving's going to go play in the big three. I guarantee you that's not going to happen. I guarantee you Kyrie Irving will not.
Why we keep blaming Kyrie? Stop. Hey, y'all gonna stop blaming Kyrie for stuff. It ain't about Kyrie.
He's not going to do it.
It ain't about Kyrie. It's about black people. Stop. I don't know why people keep trying to make Kyrie the scapegoat so they can say he crazy, ignore him. That's what y'all doing. Listen, you see the chat, you see it going up. If I give you the resources and limit what you can do with the resources, do you have the resources?
How do they limit what they can do with the resources?
They can't kneel.
If they're yours, you can do whatever you want to do with them.
I don't know that. I'm just saying
if they're your resources, you can do whatever you want to do with them.
Now, why we in love with the NBA so much? Why? Why we can't just leave the NBA?
I'm saying you act like me and you or whoever ain't ever hung out and watched the NBA game together. Like we don't like the NBA. Like we don't consume the NBA.
Ain't no wrong with watching it.
I'm just saying, so
black people. I ain't watching it for the NBA. I ain't loyal to the NBA, nigga. If all the players left, I'm going. I'm leaving. You think the IG model's gonna keep going to the NBA games if all the players left? You think the big three ain't gonna get no TV contracts?
As I said, I don't have a problem with people starting their own league. I just think that the league should be built up before there's a migration. That's just my personal stance on it. As I said, if there was an equal alternative, God bless.
All right. Well, I guess
maybe that's what Jordan can do. That's what Jordan can do with all those resources. He hasn't been a good NBA owner, so maybe he could be a good black league owner.
Hey, you gonna stop disparaging black men in defense of the white man's NBA. I'm stop doing that, man.
I'm saying.
Don't want to hear business. Niggas want to see their heroes win. Nobody care about no business stuff, dog. Why you think the Tampa Bay Business Journal ain't as big as ESPN?
Don't cancel the season because we want to see our black heroes win.
Well, y'all heard it.
Keep it going on.
Here, Kendra just said, fuck Kyrie. You know what I mean? The IG. Oh, we just addressed that. Second thing, NFL gets another pass. Cap Neal and all those other players did was collect their check. We talking about the NBA. I guess she's saying it ain't so bad in the NBA. I wouldn't compare the two because the NBA would always look like a saint compared to the two when you do the good job. TLC Michael Jordan won the good master, so that he's still an owner. But that's another conversation, man. We ain't gonna be able to agree to that. We're gonna be deadlocked on that. Pledge, I hope you're ready. We're gonna do number 2. Type of two. You ready?
Yes.
You got to do it. It happened this week. All right. Topic 2. Who was wrong, J. Cole or No Name? So J. Cole is a rapper, black man out of North Carolina. No Name is a rapper, black woman out of Chicago. The rapper No Name, posted on Twitter, I believe week before last or last week, that the black artists and entertainers, namely rappers, were too quiet during the movement, and it's a shame that they've benefited off of black pain and the movement and the struggle for black people, and they're quiet now. So the next day, was it the next day? I think it was the next day. J. Cole released a song that sounds like he was going at No Name and talking about how she's smart and what she's saying is a good thing. And we can tell that she's been educated on this, and we can tell that she's been read up on this issue. But I don't like the way she was talking to me. She need to watch her tone. And so the internet blew up on J. Cole, and niggas lost their mind. All of Black Twitter came for J. Cole and got on his head. And they said, how dare you try to police a black woman? How dare you try to tell her to check her tone? How dare you get in her face and say what she's saying ain't true? And then women took it to black men don't be wanting to protect black women. Players, what you got to say? I hope you listen to both of the songs, nigga. I tried to warn you. Tried to warn you.
Nah. This goes in the same light of what we spoke about last week
Yeah.
about celebrities staying in their lane. And I think J. Cole did a good job of that. So I'm going to side with J. Cole with this one because as he came up with in his song, in his statements, he said that, hey, I don't read as much as I should on this subject. And even though I'm looked upon to respond to things like this, I don't feel as comfortable as I should. And this is a young lady who has done her research and who is able to speak about it. She should. And he did not say it. He did not say it as forceful as you said that she should. I think the exact
He
words
said,
that
I'm gonna get the lyrics. But he said tone in the song. I don't
yeah.
want to, you right. Here we try to be accurate, you know what I mean? We don't try to be hyperbolic in our presentation of anything that's happening in the news. So we don't want to have no slanted views on nothing. We just care about black people, black liberation, black freedom, and black autonomy. So if it ain't about that, we good. Here we go. Go. Go ahead.
Are you playing it? No, I'm saying I side with him because I think he's erred on the side of caution by not speaking about something that he was not educated on, and then he was kind of he felt he was called out, and so he put a response to being called out and explained why he erred on the side of caution. So
again,
that's where I think
this turned into black women feeling slighted by black men. Are you sure you want to say that you took J. Cole's side on this? Because I'm
taking J. Cole's side on him not speaking up in his response. But I said the tone that he used towards that young lady, if she felt that it was a little bit too aggressive,
right?
But as I said, from his stance, I side with his stance, maybe not how he pronounced his stance.
Oh, so you saying he did the right thing, and that's why it looked like he was quiet.
His approach to the situation was right. Like you said last week, these celebrities who are not educated on this or have not done their research on this on these issues should not be the forefront at the forefront of the movement. And I think J. Cole recused himself from being at the forefront of movement. A smart move on his part. He was still called out for not taking that stance or whatever, and he responded. As I said, it may not the way he directed that language at that young lady might have been a little bit too aggressive, but I think his intention, the intentions behind what he was doing, is correct.
But people ain't mad at that, players. People mad at this line. But shit, is something about the queen tone that's bothering me. She strike me as somebody blessed enough to grow up in the conscious environment with parents that know about the struggle for liberation and in turn provide her with a perspective and awareness of the system and the unfairness that affects them. And the clearest understanding of what we got to do to get free. But the frustration that fills her words seem to come from the fact that most people don't see just because you woke and I'm not, that shit ain't no reason to talk like you better than me. This is the line that blew up. And everybody was like, oh, he don't love black women.
I think he put that as eloquently as he could.
You sure you want to stand by that?
I'm saying, like, I mean, as I said, the line, like, she better than me or whatever, that if he would have left that line out, everything would have been perfect. If he would have left that last line out or whatever, what argument could you have of what he said? Because the whole time he's bigging her up by his response or whatever. But if you take that last line out, that's what I disagree with. But everything else, good, Gucci.
You good with that? All right, let me see what she, because I happen to like her song better than J. Cole. I think they're both great songs. I think they were awesome. I've been bumping No Name song for like 10 hours straight. She probably got 1,000 streams off of me alone on Spotify because it just went harder than J. Cole's because Madlib was on the production, and I'm kind of biased towards Madlib Productions. But it was an upbeat song, and she kind of turned it into a battle, and she was kind of coming from a dog. But this is my official stance on the issue, guys. J. Cole came across as sensitive, and he did something he didn't have to do, which was make a song. He didn't have to say anything. She didn't tag him in the post. He ain't have to say shit. Now, in that regard, J. Cole, you was wrong for that. You didn't have to make no song. You didn't have to say anything about the girl. You wrong for
But
that,
he's an
bro.
artist. That's what
I
artists do.
I get that.
That's his form of art. That's his
Uh,
that's his response. Is
and
a song.
again, I'm with you, but this goes back to my overarching theme for everything we talk about here is we need to learn more from leaders and teachers. We need to sit at the feet of the teachers. J. Cole obviously went to college, but still didn't sit at the feet of the teachers or hasn't done so since he left college. And then because of that, he released this song, which was in very bad taste. And he caught the wrath of black internet and black women online. That's what you get. Now, if we're giving credit to No Name for being the scholar of the movement and the student of the movement, then we could say to the celebrities, you got to be more responsible with the way you produce things. No, you can't be mad. I mean, yes, you can be mad. Yes, you can have your feelings. But because what you say carries so much weight and what the time is that we're in is so incendiary, everything could be turned into a powder keg. For example, I was in a chat group about people that wanted to put speakers in their cars and make them boom and make them louder. It was called "I Just Want to Bang" because you want the sound to bang a certain way, right? And so it's a multicultural thing. It's ethnic, and it's a Facebook group, and it's open to anybody that want to talk about cars. Yesterday, this guy by the name of Rod Pruitt, he goes in there and he says BLM equals base lives matters, right? And he was talking about speakers, right? And I was like, oh Lord, here we go, white boy trying to make a joke at the expense of the Black Lives Matter movement. And so I was like, this is gonna be a problem. And then sure enough, in the comments, people was like, oh yeah, that's funny. Uh Bureau of Labor Matters. And so all these white people just start trying to make jokes, remixing what BLM stands for. And then naturally some people are like, that's irresponsible, that's immature, take that shit down, that's not funny. It's not funny that people just are getting murdered by police. And so it immediately turned into a political thing, and it immediately turned into white people get mad at black people. And so I had a little fun with it because I like trolling racist people by saying stuff that I know will trigger them. I was being very nice. I was like, hey guy, if you want to talk, I'm here to help, and blah 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 blah. That's the same thing that J. Cole and No Name's respective works did to the community. It split us up. It turned into a division. And now we're sitting here talking about who was wrong, J. Cole and No Name. Now again, No Name's clapback to J. Cole's song talked about all the issues J. Cole could have wrote about instead of talking about her. Well, in fairness, you did the same thing with your tweet. And all the things you could have talked about, what she was doing, she's very, very, very active. She's a thought leader, which is, I guess, something anybody can do these days. But she reads a lot. She has a book club, and it's about Black radical thought. And some of the stuff that she posts and reads about are very, very in tune. And it would suggest that she sits at the feet of teachers that do this all the time. But that one gaffe that you had split the movement. So I have this theory about what happens after we check the comments. Let's see what they got. J. Cole checks the black woman. Kendra says they were both wrong. I agree with that. Cole shouldn't have said nothing, and she shouldn't have dropped that tweet, that initial tweet. J. Cole checks the black woman, but shuts up about other things because he hasn't educated himself. Let's see. Yeah, he's uninformed. He's shouldn't have said that. I agree with that. I have a problem with the woke people and the condescending manner they talk to people. Sometimes I want to learn, but arguments are articulated can be a turnoff sometimes. That's also a very fair statement. However, No Name didn't name him in the tweet. She should have took it down or took it on the chin and got at her behind the scenes. Right. So those last four comments both agreed. Everybody was wrong in what happened. But I
I
think
tell
this.
you where they're not wrong though, where
What's
neither
that?
one of them are wrong. Is both of them are trending right now. I mean, and as an entertainer, that's
Yeah.
I mean that's what I mean because it said this is elevated no name in the eyes of a lot of people. I mean for real. I mean I'm not as
Whew.
my ear. I'll keep it real to you. My ear isn't to this as much to the streets as yours is in hip hop or in music or whatever.
Yeah.
I had no idea who No Name was.
Yeah. I mean
I did
that's
not. So I'm saying
that
so
is a true
now
statement.
this has brought her into to being relevant at this point. So
Ouch.
so I think she capitalized on this opportunity. I
Whew.
wasn't I mean before this week I wasn't going to talk about it on the podcast.
Whew. Ah. Whew. Whew. Yeah. You wasn't gonna talk about it yet because she could have
Yes,
obviously
yeah.
been. There
Yeah,
you
she
go.
could have done. I mean, she could have done something to been on the Miss
Yes.
Macarena
Mm-hmm.
pageant
Mm-hmm.
nominee,
Mm-hmm.
but
Because we
you
talk
know,
about the sisters. We talk about the sisters and support the sisters on this show. And
no doubt.
you know what I mean? Do what you want to do as long as it's helping the black community. It's always gonna be my stance. How does what you're doing affect us as a community? Which leads me to my bigger argument that I've been seeing all week. And then we're having conversations about this. Matter of fact, somebody just said here, this is a part of the bigger discussion between black men and black women that needs to be had. Yes, it is. All right. I don't know if you've seen it or been privy to it through social media or anything, but I learned about the dispute between Black Twitter and J. Cole as a result of No Man's tweet from one of my friends on Facebook who was a female. And she was outraged and very white and very, very much rightfully so. And then I started seeing a lot of corresponding posts on social media about how the black man just don't never want to protect the black woman. And so it wasn't, specifying a specific subgroup of black men. It just kept saying black men don't protect black women. Black men don't protect black women. And so they got me to thinking, and it got Kendrell to thinking, and a couple other people ran into. Where are you seeing this at, right? And so subsequent to us saying that, I've seen a couple other people post some disturbing videos of black men doing violent things to black women. And it was two videos. I don't know. I didn't want to look at them because I try not to look at that kind of stuff because it bothers me to the core. But it just got me to thinking. In the past 2 weeks, we've seen some things happen that have never happened in the history of the country or the planet. We've seen every single state and property the U.S. protest the same thing on the same day. That's never happened. And we've seen 18 countries outside of America protest the exact same thing on the same day, which has also never happened in the history of the planet. Now, after the week of protest and that stat and that height was reached, all of a sudden it turned into Black trans lives matters, Black homosexual lives matter, Black women lives matter, instead of just Black lives matter, right? And so all of a sudden there's this big split that happened, and you had the LGBTQ community split up into two groups after leaving the Black Lives Matter group, and then the Black women left and split up into another group. So we have four groups split up and emerge in the midst of this awesome display of unity from the whole world. And so it got me to thinking, I was like, wait, is somebody trying to split us up? Because we just saw something that we ain't seen since Martin Luther King. 110 cities across America protested for 6 days after the death of after the murder of Martin Luther King. And then we saw some overarching sweeping legislation take place on the sixth day of the protests and riots. And then we saw the same thing here. We had 6 or 7 days of protesting and rioting, and we just started seeing all of these different actions taking place as a result of the riots and protests. And then all of a sudden, boom, there was this big split, and we lost momentum. Did anybody in the comments notice that? I know Drill did.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed. I mean, I did notice that too, to where I was I think I might have been on my LinkedIn profile or whatever, and I saw where, you know, it was like trans Black Lives Matter. Like I'm like, you know, I'm seeing these things that kind
Factions,
of pop
right?
up as an offshoot, yeah,
Right.
as an offshoot of that. And as I said, it kind of undermines what the initial intent of the movement was. So I
Right.
mean, that is something that I did notice.
Right. And so, you know, in the interest, again, always trying to be fair here. We're not saying that those subgroups inside the black community don't matter. We're saying all, every single black life matters just as much as anybody else, any other group's lives. And
Oh, I
we
thought you were gonna
don't.
say all lives matter.
No, I
I
ain't
thought
finna,
you were gonna say that.
mm-mm,
Oh,
mm-mm.
okay.
I
Just
ain't,
making sure.
no, I ain't gonna do that. I ain't gonna get myself in trouble. So there's been discussions about the validity of the Black Lives Matter movement. There's been discussions about brown lives starting to matter. There's not even starting to matter. Excuse me. That's a very terrible thing to say. Brown lives mattering. None of those things are being disputed by saying Black Lives Matter. None of those things are being negated by saying Black Lives Matters. What we're saying is something is very wrong with the internet right now that is causing the group and the movement, which is had most definitely been multicultural, has split and turned into, well, what about me?
But
And go ahead.
here's the thing I say about the internet though, is that it gives everybody a voice. I'm gonna say back in like the original civil rights movement back in the 60s or whatever, in order for you to speak to, you know, speak to the masses or whatever, you kind of had to have, you know, a name, to notoriety. You know, you had to be you know, a prominent politician, you had to be a pastor, you had to have some clout behind you before you were able to speak to everybody. But
Right.
nowadays, you don't have to have any clout about you. So you get a 100,000 different messages or whatever, as opposed to a more centralized message that everybody can kind of get behind. So I think when you say there's something going on with the internet, it's a problem that's going to be around with the internet,
Mhm.
because the internet gives everybody a voice. Back in the day, not everybody had a voice. You know, it
Let's
was
let's
only a certain group of people who had voices.
let's dig a little deeper because I spent my whole week digging on this once I noticed something popped up. Now this going to sound a bit conspiratorial, aka it's going to sound like a conspiracy theory, but experts and the U.S. Senate and government and special committees have written reports verifying these statements. This is all available for us to read online. You guys want to go and look, you definitely can. 2016, in the months, days, weeks, hours leading up to the presidential election, Russia employed something called the Internet Research Agency. And that agency was tasked with trolling Americans to get them to split up and fight with each other so that the election could be skewed in favor of Donald Trump winning the election. And in the findings of this report, which is available in Robert Mueller's report, if anybody knows about that, found that the group, the Internet Research Agency, again, which is a completely Russian group, which is spearheaded by a Russian business owner and Vladimir Putin, which is the leader of Russia, who were both in support of Trump, decided to get white Americans to split into the left and the right wing, and then to attack African Americans and dissuade them from voting at all. Right. And so these three goals were attached to the Internet Research Agency. And so I did a little reading, well, I did a lot of reading, and it talked about how the number one priority of the Internet Research Agency was to get black people to stop voting or to throw their vote, which means split their vote and go to different people inside the Democratic Party. And it was coincidental or effective, however you want to look at it. For the first time in 20 years, African Americans had a decrease in the number of participants in the voting process during the presidential election. Now, B, what the hell that got to do with J. Cole and No Name being wrong? This is what it has to do with it. the Internet Research Agency was strategically and effectively getting inside the Black Lives Matters movement by creating pages that looked like they were all about black agendas, getting inside the Black Lives Matter movement by creating fake accounts, sending money to real people that were on the ground fighting and supporting the Black Lives Matter movement, and twisting everything that they were saying and thinking and viewing about the world by sending money, by sending fake messages, and splitting up the African American community so much so that we had a lot of people just not vote. We had what, 2 million people, 2 million fewer people show up to vote this time, and we had black people saying we shouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton. We should vote for Jill Stein. We shouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton. We should vote for Bernie Sanders, because who was the biggest threat to Donald Trump's campaign? Hillary Clinton.
Yes.
So what started happening was this stuff started picking up steam, and a lot of the conspiracies that we heard on the internet, and we still hear to this day, like Hillary Clinton's emails are evil, and they lead back to proof that she has a child sex trafficking ring that's run out of a pizza warehouse. All of this came from the troll farms and the Internet Research Agency's work. So all of this comes back full circle, and I'm looking, and I'm still looking and looking and looking. Yo, African Americans had a huge victory this past month, and we just got a lot of progress made. It's not where we want to be completely, but we had a lot of progress made. And all of a sudden, there was this big split after Trump started saying stuff like, if the protests start happening, the shooting going to start happening. After this big split where Trump started trying to accuse the black protesters are being violent and necessary for us to send the National Guard in and weaponize them and the army against the protesters. After all of this stuff started happening, after we saw 4 days of Trump saying all this stuff, all of a sudden we started seeing people like Billy Porter, who's an icon in the LGBT community, LBG, the group.
Yeah.
He came out and saying, yeah, you know what about us? And then we started seeing black women come up and saying, yeah, what about us? And I started seeing memes float around that was talking about different issues that are true issues in the black community, but they started going viral. So we started seeing memes like, oh, y'all ain't ready to have a conversation about how the hospital kills more black women than police kill black men. What are you doing? And people started retweeting and reposting this stuff, and it caught steam. And then people started posting and retweeting Billy Porter's argument about black trans lives and homosexual lives being devalued by the black community. What are you doing, Billy Porter? Like, you can say that. It's not a wrong statement. It's a true statement, but it's not the time to have it because you're splitting up the movement. And what the Internet Research Agency does time and time again, they look for factions inside the African American community and they highlight them. They highlight the divisions that we have, and they cause us to split. For example, this one page on Instagram had 363,000 followers. And I knew the page, and I would see the page often. It was called 17th Soldier 4. And what that page was doing, which was run by the Internet Research Agency, they would take a lot of stuff and they would just highlight it, raise it, and get black people to split up, not trust the voting system, not thinking that Hillary Clinton was a good idea, picking Jill Stein, and just not even wanting to vote in general. And I saw this stuff circulating over and over. If you go on Instagram right now, you can look up 17th Soldier, that's SOULJA 4, and look in the hashtags. You'll see a ton of posts and videos that were very popular in the last 3 years circulating with this person's name. That wasn't a real black person. That was the Russians co-opting the Black Lives Matter movement and solidarity in the democratic race, anything it took to split us up so that we wouldn't be effective in voting out Donald Trump. The same thing is happening right now. Guys, we just had a monumental movement and shift in the world thinking that we getting white people to say, oh, snap, I was wrong. Racism does exist. I get why Colin Kaepernick was kneeling. Oh, you guys have been telling the truth this entire time. What can I do to help? And now we saying, instead of us coming up with the same response to all the people in our lives that want to help, now we're saying, oh, well, black men don't listen to black women. black people don't listen to trans people, we missing the mark. And that's because we're upset, and we're rightfully so upset. But we got to be careful about who we listen to. Remember 3 weeks ago we was talking about Diddy, and I was mad at Diddy for saying I ain't voting. Remember that? Oh, we're gonna hold our vote. Now, here's the problem. Diddy sits at the feet of teachers, but he got emotional in that moment and saying he holding his vote hostage. He ain't voting. That was exactly what the Internet Research Agency wanted us to do. Y'all can look it up for yourself. Matter of fact, if you type in this website address, you won't get it because everybody took it down. It was called blackmatters.us. If you just Google Black Matters US, you'll find tons of articles from verified sources, and the U.S. Senate's research put out a publication talking about all the ways that they tried to split us up. Y'all got to be careful with these very, very seductive arguments that are based in truth being brought up when they're being brought up. It is not the time for us to sit and fight over No Name being disrespected by J. Cole. It is not the time for us to sit and fight about J. Cole saying something offensive. It is not the time to sit and think about how black men have been murdering black women. Yes, that's wrong. But are the women black? Yes. Are we not saying Black Lives Matter? Yes. So do we need to stop saying Black Lives Matter to focus on the outliers in our movement? No. We tripping ourselves up. Oh, hold on. He probably got paid to say that. He probably did. But you know what's not wrong with what he said, Quanika? We don't have trust in the system already, and the Russians are already they're not making new issues. They're just taking advantage of the pre-existing issues. People are already upset. There's already a schism between the black man and black woman. We promote that a lot. They're not making new problems. They're just bringing them to the forefront and getting us to fight over them. So what's the point of them getting that done? Why do they care about little old us? Why are we so important to the Russian hacking scandal? Because Trump knows if we get up and unite and get out there and vote, we could take this shit over. Matter of fact, in the days after the election, Trump went to a rally in Michigan and said, Trump had a rally and said, "Thank you to my African Americans. They came up big league, very big league. They trusted me so much that if they had any issues with what I said, they just either didn't elect. They trusted me so much that they had any issue with what Hillary Clinton said, they just didn't show up to vote. And we really thank y'all for doing that."
Yep.
So if you ever hear anybody in your life on your news feed talking about how we shouldn't be voting because it's all a big setup, it is not a big setup. You have another country, another continent spending millions of dollars. Bro, they actually spent $1.2 million trying to build the brand that is Black Matters US to get us to stay home from voting. That's how important voting is. That's how important your black life is. They will literally spend millions of dollars to get you confused so that you don't participate in what is an obvious tool in your defense. We cannot afford to sit here and let little things split us up. Is it important that women are being killed and not hurt by hospitals? Yes. Is that issue inside of the Black Lives Matter statement? Yes. Do we need to make another statement? No. Again, they didn't stop after the election, bro. In 2019, May of 2019, we looked at and got research from the Atlantic that talks about how the conspiracy theories aren't even being built correctly because it's not necessary at this point in time because the internet is so easy to manipulate and get people to fall off. You know what the two things they use, Pledge, that are the easiest things to get people to just bite into and be like, oh, hell yeah, I'm mad. It's a 4-letter word. It's not a curse word. It's memes. All they do is use memes, bro. They just use memes. It's called meme warfare now. Nigga, the U.S. government and the Department of Defense are literally trying to build a department that is dedicated to meme warfare. Niggas love memes. Crackers love memes. Dude, this is not a game. This ain't the time to split up. We just made some huge progress this last month. This ain't the time to start falling for the who was wrong. J. Cole shouldn't have said that. And we shouldn't be listening to him. Again, the nigga ain't saying, hey, listen to this teacher. Shut up. Hey, players, last week I spent the next 3 days after the show trying to reconcile some misconceptions about what I was saying on the show for one of our listeners.
Really?
Yeah. And the big takeaway for me after having sat and listened to the teacher, that's Angela Rye and Michael Eric Dyson, is my tone was off. J. Cole said the same thing. No Name tone was off. He wasn't wrong. It just wasn't the time to highlight a faction. Guys, we got to be educated. We got to listen to the experts. And I know some people don't like that, but it's important because of things like this. We had a group called Blacktivist. It was _Blacktivist. They got a couple 100,000 followers. No, it was like 30,000 followers on Instagram that a lot of people was resharing their stuff. We had something called Black Fist that the trainer who was out trying to do a good thing for the black community started getting money sent to him by the Russian internet research agency to get him to have rallies that would just have people be angry and try to fight the cops. But he didn't realize it was happening until later on when he started seeing a lot of information coming about how they're trying to hijack the movement. We had a rapper do it. We had a reverend that was holding the rallies already, and the Russians contacting him. Yo, it is very important that we don't just sit out here and try to run off and listen to just anybody that's a celebrity, because they have the right heart. J. Cole and No Name both had their hearts was in the right place, but they thinking was wrong. That's my
and that's why I agree with what J. Cole said, because I think that he was trying to say that I haven't done the research. I haven't listened to people. And he was trying to say that's why I've stayed out of it. As I said, I think if you take that last line out of it,
yeah,
that last bar, he would have been golden. But he was trying to say, look here, you have done research or whatever. So in this, your voice should be in the forefront, not mine.
Right. And that
said, but one line can throw off your whole message, can throw
off
your whole sentiment.
Because you know why? Because people are emotionally tense right now, and rightfully so, because this has been an extremely taxing time for everybody involved, man. The people that are on the movement, in the movement, we're mad, we're upset, we want change to happen. We've been trying to tell y'all for years, and some of us felt insulted that y'all just not wanting to listen. And so what it took, we already in the heightened state of emotionality, and then somebody just was like, oh, don't forget about how that one black dude you dated was abusive. It's not a good thing that it was abusive. That's not what we're saying. We're saying all Black lives matter is what is implied in the Black Lives Matter statement. I don't know about the organization except to say that it's funded by somebody that people want to have a problem with. I know that it was created by African American women, and I know what their intent is. They want justice and autonomy and equity for all Black lives matters. It does not matter what kind of Black person you are. They want equity for you. We can't keep falling for this okie doke, man. That's why I was pissed last week. Players were trying to talk to me about different stuff that was being said in the media about the Kyrie stuff, and I didn't want to hear it because I didn't want to spoil my appetite for what I was studying. You know, we did have some issues with Kendrick Perkins being called a sellout, and
we didn't even get to that. But it just shows you. It just shows you how divisive some of these issues are. Is that it turns into, lack of a better term, a civil war or a war within each other, to where it's like when something happens, all of a sudden we have to pick a side. So we're even a subset of a minority. So I think that's the thing that we have to avoid is something happens to us, we get an attack from the outside, and all of a sudden it's a war within.
Mm-hmm. Y'all remember the players? You remember the Willie Lynch letter?
Yes.
Uh, it's since been debunked. It's not a real thing, but the tenets in it are visible everywhere, right? And so what we just saw was the black man and woman being pitted against each other, the old versus the young. You know what I mean? People not wanting to do things that are associated with old black people, which is voting and going to church. You know, even though the Willie Lynch letter was a fake document that never got written, the speech never happened. There is nobody by the name of William Lynch. The letter still rings true. Is it the sole reason that black people can't get ahead and make progress in the world? No, but it's not to say that the tenets of it are not true. So I know a lot of people are concentrating on the rap beef and what have you. But I just wanted to take this as a chance to say we need to stay vigilant for outsiders. We need to create culture. My nephew got at me this week, and he was saying there were some strategies that could be used and be found in some documentaries on Netflix. I haven't had the chance to start the documentary yet, but dude, y'all don't get it. Sitting here arguing with black people right now. Put it this way. If they ain't saying nothing that's unifying you right now, don't listen to them. If they ain't saying nothing that's propagating us right now, don't listen to them. Like this is how sophisticated the internet research agency schemes were. They started promoting black entrepreneurship pledge. Like this, it sounds really good. It's nothing wrong with what they're saying. But you know who they promoted it to? It was to black people. But 60% of their black entrepreneurship ads were written for black women. They targeted black women. So what does that tell you? They trying to get to do y'all. What they trying to get y'all to do? You know how many sisters out there right now on the internet talking about, oh, be the CEO your mom always told you to marry? Dude, they see the issues that we have and that we're ignoring about fixing, and they're highlighting them, and they getting y'all mad because somebody's promoting it that you think is popular. Yes, it's a good thing for blacks to own businesses. Yes, it is. But you still gonna need doctors. You still gonna need lawyers. You still gonna need nurses. You still gonna need teachers. You still gonna need politicians. You still gonna need religious leaders. Those are not businesses, but you still need those people.
And another thing that should be lost is that just because we come up, it's not that we still need to work together and be keep somewhat of a family unit together.
Right.
And I think that's one thing that people come up and people become like what you say independent and things like that and think that I've made it or whatever. I don't have to worry about anybody else, or I'm good on my own and stuff like that or whatever. I think those are some of the dangerous mindsets that creep in as well. Is it's not more so a question of unity, but a more a question of independence. So,
right. Like we should know that there's a problem when a Russian organization is being paid and trained to highlight that black women should be business owners and entrepreneurs. Plus, they sent 0 ads targeted to black men about entrepreneurship. Why? Because they don't want us to get along. They want us to turn into, I don't need no nigga because I'm getting my own money. I don't need no woman that's making more money than me. That splits the group up. We're not being vigilant on our borders, bro. That's a reason that America, I think, is a wonderful blueprint for defense. They spend a lot of money on protecting, so much so that they started going from defending to offending. That's where the imperialism comes in. That's another conversation. But we need to put more time into clearly defining what it is that we believe in, a value system, and then protecting them because somebody keeps coming in and causing a rift. Joe Biden came in, said that crazy crap about a month ago. Hillary Clinton got Mary J. Blige to sing on top of a desk. I mean, not on top of a desk. I'm conflating the Burger King commercial with the interview she did where she started singing to Hillary Clinton. We got to be more vigilant. So at this point in time, everybody need to get their behind up and vote. Yes, in the presidential election. Yes, in the local elections. Yes, in the state elections. Yes, in the Senate. Yes, in the House of Representatives. Florida, August 18th, you got an election coming up. Get your butt up and vote. If you ain't talking about voting because you mad because the white man is a trick in the government, no, it ain't no trick. It's working the way it's supposed to work. You're not participating. Why? Could it be because we got some hurt from trying to get lynched and murdered when we tried to vote? Yes, I get that. I completely respect the fact that we got hurt and it's scary to us. Nigga, they done started lynching again. Pledge, you heard that?
I mean, I know that they're investigating the two what they call suicides in California, but I think that it's something that's been trending over the last couple of weeks. I have heard that.
Yeah, last week, not this last week, but 2 weeks ago, there were 5 lynchings across America. 5, and every one of them is being investigated as a suicide. Come on, man. Like, it's serious out here, bro. Waleed just said in the group chat, don't argue with any black people unless the two of you are in private. We don't need it. Amen to that. I'm not going to argue with nobody on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat. Well, I guess if it's in the DMs, that's cool. But no, time out. They literally trying to get us, bro. Like, this ain't no conspiracy. This is documented history. Get your butt up and vote. The Russians that have interest because if Trump becomes president again, they can keep doing business and benefiting from him being in office because they got some policies that are involved in international affairs that benefit Russians if Trump is the president. How will Trump become president? Black people just don't show up. That's how he wins. That's how important we are. There are 33 million of us in America. If we get up and vote, well, it's 13% of 363 million. So it's about 39 million of us in America. If we don't vote, bro, come on, Doug.
Yeah. And Bob Johnson, he had an interview on the Breakfast Club that kind of broke it down. I'm not sure if you listened to that interview, but he made a great case for reparations, and then he also broke down, just how important the black vote is, and how if we vote in full effect, how we could make a real big impact.
Get what we need. Local elections. Again, voting is just one tool, but it's the most readily available. It's the most important. For example, this is how important voting is. Again, I'm going to show you why it's important. Voting is so important that white nationalist agendas are doing everything in their power to make it darn near impossible for you to vote as a black person. Case in point, in in Kentucky, the county that Louisville sits in, 50% of the state's black residents reside there. What they just did this past week was turn the 3,600 polling stations and voting machines, turned them off and reduced it to 300. Why on earth would they do that if it's a conspiracy and that black people their votes don't matter? Why on earth would they take away 90% of the possible voting boosts from you during the national election? It's because voting works. It's because it's not a conspiracy. It is not some big illusionary scheme to get presidents just to be the richest one. I have for any of my white friends or white people or black people that happen to listen to right wing and white wing Fox News politics, the internet Russian agency split up with a white vote too. They were very serious about getting white people to distrust any institution that is a part of the United States government. The same thing they do in the black people, they do in the white people. There's a reason why white people always out here talking about, oh, we don't trust in big government. Oh, we don't trust the mainstream media. That's because the doggone Russians are promoting this shit. They're literally trying to get them to stop listening to news outlets that are credible. It's a mental warfare, guys. It is memes. Memes are very seductive and sexy because they take a very relatable issue and they pump it full of emotion and they make it a very, very, very small digestible bite of information that you can easily agree with. Watch your ass. Protect your mind. Stop fighting. Trans lives matter. Women's lives matter. Gay lives matter. Lesbian lives matter. Bisexual, queer, any other letter you want to use. Women, men, children, old people, teenagers, middle-aged, Black lives matter. They all matter. All the Black lives matter. We ain't got time to sit and figure out which one is more important. Neither one is more important than the other one. And yes, you need to vote in the national election, the presidential election. Yes, 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 yes. Is Biden the best possible human on the planet? No. But it's too late for that. Gotta get Trump out of here. You got another country spending millions of dollars attacking your mind with memes. They got millions of dollars attacking your mind, trying to break up the Black family. Come on now. I appreciate the sisters that's on the front lines trying to highlight what's going on in that faction, but this is not the time to say that something is more important than the collective good. Quanika's right. Killer Mike does have a documentary called Triggered. You can check that out on Netflix. It's a good business. But hey, don't split up. Don't split the group up. Don't listen to Scooby-Doo. Don't split the group up. Stay together. I'm Black. Anyway, guess I ain't leave much room for commentary on that. That was a history lesson, I suppose. Anybody? Comments? Pledge?
Nah, man, I think once again, kind of picking up where you left off last week, man, of just going, giving us a real good historical perspective, dropping knowledge, not just knowledge, but some actionable items of what needs to be done. So once again, you follow up a great performance last week and another great performance this week. So
yeah. I don't want to forget. I just remember. Speaking of actionable items, mentor. If you don't have kids, or if your children are grown, mentor. If you're in an industry where you want to give back to the Black community, mentor. My brother-in-law is mentoring somebody that wants to pursue a career in law. My nephew is big in mentoring. Mentor. Find mentors for your kids, find a mentor for yourself. That is a way for us to connect and unify and keep the information going. There's an African adage. It's not even African. Well, it's an African person that wrote it. He's a historian. But he says, when an old man dies, a library burns to the ground. And that's a problem because that means the information wasn't passed to someone else. Mentor, pass, share the information that you learn here, that you learn from other teachers that you think are worthy. Let's keep it going. The blueprint has been out there for hundreds of years on how to deal with these issues. Now we just need to listen to them, study them, and share them by mentoring. We good?
Hey man, another great show, man. Thank you guys for rocking with us. And go ahead and drop that information on following us.
Right. Oh, subscribe, share, like. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts. Trying to get us on Tidal. I'm trying to make sure we're everywhere. If you're missing us, subscribe and hit the notification so that you can hear when we drop a new content. Support us on YouTube. Tell your friends if they missed the live show that they can go back and listen to it on YouTube. It's free. Guys, just if you think what we're doing is important, we're not asking you to spend money. We're just asking you to share the information. We're not asking you to buy anything. We just ask you to share the information. You're giving us your time. We appreciate it. Just be sure to tell anybody that you think would benefit from this information to come get some. It's free. We're doing it for y'all because we black, you black, or if you not black and you support, just
case in point,
help us out.
No, excuse me, Kentucky.
All right, y'all. We'll catch up with y'all next week.
God bless. Peace.